joined with Shane Williams from West Red Lake Gold. Shane, it's good to see you again.
Great to be on again.
Look, since this time last year, we chatted, I don't know if you remember, but you were on the deep dive at the Rural Symposium 2024. We're sitting here at the Rural Symposium 2025. Price of gold is up $1,000. You're more of a mind builder. I know that that's where your focus and your attention is, but you've got to have some thoughts on what's happening with the price of gold.
Yeah, look, who would have known gold was where it was back a year ago, where it would go. So my view is that we're heading up north of 4,000, north of $4,000 gold, probably within the next 12 months for sure. Yeah, up above that number. That's where I think we're going to head. A lot of people have predictions much, much higher. I'm not that optimistic, but I think we're going to get to 4,000. Yeah.
So let's talk about West Red Lake. You guys were in the process of just starting production last year when we chatted. What can you tell us? How's production coming along? What does that ramp up look like?
Yeah, go back to a year ago. There's not many companies that came here a year ago, was a developer, and came back a year later and as a producer. So that's pretty cool. And a producer in today's gold price. So that's pretty good. We started the mine probably in May. We gave guidance to June. We started a bit early in May. We've been ramping up since then, pretty much. Mine is pretty consistent now as we're going. We're producing, mill is running about 650 tons a day. It runs to 800, so we're pretty much there. We've tested it to 800 tons. Recovery is good. Everything is going very well. The mine is producing. The grade is getting up. We started on low grade and then moved up into that. Obviously, starting up. So we're producing about 2,000 ounces a month consistently, and that's going to ramp up now towards between now and the back end of the year. Like 2,000 ounces a month is like just over Canadian dollars, just over just nearly $8 million a month.
It's a pretty big deal. I actually made a list of all the different operating gold mines in Ontario, and I think the number I came up to was around like 18. Yeah. So you're part of a very special small club.
Yeah, there's a lot of gold mines in Ontario. Ontario is probably the biggest province where there is mines. Quebec has a lot of them as well, but Ontario is special because there's a lot of high grade mines in Ontario. It's known for that high grade mine. And so that's where we wanted to be. That's where why we picked Madson. It has the potential for that scale and that high grade as well. That's why Madson is there. So it's great to be, part of the group for sure.
Now, my understanding is you guys just put out a PEA on the Rowan project. What can you tell us?
So Rowan was the first property actually we bought as part of West Red Lake.
Yeah.
But obviously with the pivot to Madson, we needed to show the de-risking of Madson and the path forward. Now that we've done that, the idea next is to show growth. So Rowan is part of the growth story. So Rowan, the plan with Rowan is it's a satellite deposit, or we can bring the ore from Rowan all the way to Madson. And so we can process that material. So we don't have a mill to build. We don't have a lot of capital. The material can be into Madson.
How far apart are they?
It's about 80 kilometers, roughly, very good at high grade. 10 grams is the early stage grade. Bring that material to Madson and then allows us to grow Madson, basically. So it's like a platform of growth within the region.
So, Shane, let me ask you this. If you and I sit down this time next year at the Rural Symposium 2026, and you tell me that it's been a really successful 2020 first half of 2026, second half of 2025, or in other words, to say, what are your goals for the next 12 months? What are you going to tell me?
So my goals, and a little bit at my goals are about in another 12 months to have another asset, actually, to have another asset of leg of West Red Lake, so
one that you'd be able to feed into the current mill?
No, another platform of growth. The concept of the company was build a platform of growth in Red Lake. We have that opportunity. We're looking at other things around there, so that's ongoing. But what's the next story for West Red Lake? The concept of West Red Lake was to grow to 400,000 ounces a year over the next 4 or 5 years. We want to do it rapidly. We've shown now that we can do it rapidly, 1 year to production, and the idea is to move that along. I expect Madson should be up at 800 tons a day consistently, so producing 65,000 ounces. And that will give us a platform of growth to look at the next growth story for West WRLG.
Does that mean you're looking at projects that already have mills, kind of like what you guys did?
Yeah,
Or?
kind of mills that are already ongoing or projects that are on near production, in production, that sort of scale, like a bit like Madson that can easily be brought into production, That's the concept.
I have some names that I can ask you about, but I'm not going to do that on camera because that'd be unfair. But look, I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with us. I think it's a big accomplishment to build a mine in Canada. We don't see enough of that. So
Well, and there's only 4 this year we looked at around the world going into production, gold mines in the world.
4
into production this year. You look around the world, not by the big majors, by juniors, developers, and small companies. There's only 4.
So that goes to show you you're in a very small club.
Small club. And 1 in Canada. We're the only one in Canada. We're
Yeah.
the only one in Canada. Now the big producers are putting them in, but Artemis was last year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was what I was going to ask.
Artemis was last year, 25.
Okay.
That was this year. But as you go, we're in production into next year. We're really ramping up. They went in 24, end of 24. They ramped up in 25. We went into production in 25. So we were the only ones really in Canada this year.
Okay. Well, Shane, it's always a pleasure when we get to chat. Let's do this again this time next year, or possibly at Beaver Creek if you're at Beaver Creek.
Yeah, we will be at Beaver Creek. Yeah.
And we'll get some updates.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you very much. Thank you.